Good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending this meeting of the Licensing Act 2003 Subcommittee on Thursday, the 3rd of August, 2023. My name is Councillor Matthew Lynch, and I am Chair of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee and also this committee. Before we start, I would just like to outline some housekeeping rules. There are no planned fire alarms, so if an alarm does sound, please can I ask everybody to leave via the nearest exit. Please can I also ask for you to all switch your mobile phones off, which I haven't done, but I will do now. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed via Chorley Council's YouTube channel. To facilitate this, can I request that when you are speaking, you use the microphone in front of you, which can be activated by pressing the right-hand side button. Once you are finished speaking, please ensure that it is turned off by pressing the button again. I will now ask everybody to make their own introductions, starting on my right-hand side with the members of the committee.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Margaret France. I represent Chorley North East Ward.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Mark Clifford and I represent Clayton West and Kewarden.
Good evening, my name is Trace Brzozowski. I'm the Customer Services Manager for Enforcement.
Good evening, my name is Nathan Howson. I'm the Licensing Team Leader for Chorley Council.
Good evening, I'm Jason Middleton. I'm here representing Lancashire County Council Trading Standards.
Good evening, I'm Sergeant John Lovick, Licensing Sergeant for this area.
Good evening, PC Stephen Connolly, Police Licensing.
I'm Matthew Pavlish and I'm the Democratic Services Officer.
Good evening, my name is Mr. Vinod Halai. I'm the license holder.
Good evening, my name is Ranju Halai and I'm a staff member.
And last but not least.
Good evening, Alex Jackson, Legal Officer.
Apologies.
There's no apologies, Chair.
Item 1, declarations of interest. If a member has a pecuniary interest, they must withdraw from the meeting. Normally, you should leave the room before the business starts to be discussed. You do, however, have the same right to speak as a member of the public and may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and then leave immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence a decision on the matter. Do we have any declarations of interest? If you do feel that you need to declare an interest, you can do so at any time. Item 2, procedure. Everybody should have a laminated copy of the procedure in front of them. However, I will read through this. The hearing will proceed as follows. The committee will first decide whether to allow persons specified on the Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Then our licensing officer will outline the application and any relevant representations. Questions to the licensing officer from committee members, the applicant, responsible authority and the premises licence holder. At this point, the committee will hear representations from the applicant for review, in this case PC Connolly, questions to the applicant for review from committee members, responsible authority and the licence holder. The committee will then receive representations from the responsible authority, in this case Trading Standards from Lancashire County Council, questions to the responsible authority from committee members, the applicant for review and the premises licence holder. The committee will then receive representations from the licence holder. Questions to the licence holder from committee members, the applicant for review and responsible authority. I will then invite the applicant for review, responsible authority and the premises licence holder to sum up in turn, if they wish. Officers and persons who are not directly supporting the committee will then be excluded from the meeting at this point as we enter deliberations, and the YouTube stream will end. Following deliberations, we will request that the licence holder re-enter the meeting so that I can deliver our decision. The licence holder, applicant for review and responsible authority will be issued with a detailed notice of decision within 5 working days after this hearing. An appeal against the decision of the council may be made to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of receipt of the determination notice. So everybody happy with the procedure? Is that clear? Good. The committee, agenda item number 3, application for the review of premises licence, Vinnie's News and Booze, 83 to 85 Water Street. Firstly, the committee needs to consider whether to allow persons specified on the Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Nathan, have there been any requests?
Yes, Chair, just a single request from the premises licence holder. That's regarding Ranju Halai, who's the staff member who appears before you, so the committee should decide whether or not to allow her to speak. I can't see any good reason not to allow her, but it's a matter for the committee to decide. Thank you.
Committee members, I don't see any reason why not to, so can I have a proposer to allow that?
Proposed, Chair.
And a seconder? All in favour? There we go. So, Mrs. Halai, you will be allowed to speak. Okay, Nathan, over to you. Please, can you make your representations?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So this is the agenda item 3, which is the determination of an application for the review of a premises licence. That's in review in respect of Vinnie's News and Booze, 83 to 85 Water Street. The reason it's been referred to committee is because there has been that application to review a premises licence. That's been made by Lancashire Constabulary. It's for the subcommittee to determine the application in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003. I'll start at agenda page 6, which starts at paragraph 8 of the report, and that talks about the history of the premises. So it's been licensed for many years, although due to the length of time it's been licensed for, the records aren't complete, so it's not quite certain when the premises was first licensed under the Licensing Act. It's probably fair to assume it's been licensed since that transfer from the old Justice's licence. The licence was, however, transferred into the current licence holder's name on the 26th of August 2009, and at the same time he became the designated premises supervisor. And you'll find that there's a copy of the current premises licence appended at Appendix 1. The premises itself is set back from Water Street. It's the end property in a row of various business premises. It sits at the junction between Water Street and Congress Street, and you'll find there's residential properties to the rear with the A6 to the front. There's a plan view of the area appended at Appendix 2. Moving then to the application, on the 13th of June 2023, there's an application for the review of a premises licence received from PC Connolly. That's for and on behalf of Lancashire Constabulary. There's a copy of that application at Appendix 3, and it's concerned with the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder and the protection of children from harm being undermined at the premises. The grounds for the review are as follows: that the premises has failed 2 test purchases of age-restricted products in recent weeks, and that a trimming knife was sold to 13 and 15-year-old test purchasers on the 17th of May 2023, and alcohol was then sold to the 16 and 17-year-old test purchasers on the 2nd of June 2023. The application was advertised in accordance with the regulations, and that a notice was displayed at the premises, at the council offices, and also a copy of the application was published on the council's website, and that's for the whole of the 28-day consultation period. During this period, and on the 19th of June, a representation was received from Jason Middleton, a Principal Officer of Lancashire County Council's Trade and Standards Service. This representation also relates to the prevention of crime and disorder and the protection of children from harm objectives, and you'll find that appended at Appendix 4. On the 28th of June, additional documents were received from PC Connolly to support the application. That comprises a report, various appendices, which include a witness statement, an image of the premises, some body-worn camera footage from the test purchase or the visit following the test purchase on the 2nd of June, and then a number of proposed conditions to be imposed on the licence. You find all of those documents at Appendix 5 of the report, and I think PC Connolly will come on to the body-worn footage, which is available to the committee. At Appendix 17, you've got various comments from the monitoring officer, and then moving to paragraph 18, talks about the conclusions of the report and your options in determining the application. The decision should be based on the individual merits of the application and the representations. In accordance with the regulations, a decision must be made within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day of the hearing, or the last day of the hearing. In accordance with Section 52 of the Act, the authority must, having regard to the application and any representations made, take such steps, if any, as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The steps available to you are to modify the conditions of the licence, and that includes altering, omitting or adding any condition. You can exclude any licensable activity from the scope of the licence. You can remove the designated premises supervisor. You could suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, or ultimately, you could revoke the licence. Where the subcommittee decides to take such a step at A or B, i.e. excluding the licensable activity or modifying the conditions, they may provide that only has effect for a period of not exceeding 3 months, as you may specify. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions, but that's the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Nathan. Questions from committee? Nathan, as part of the historic licence, has there been any other occasion where this licence holder has been made or brought forward to your attention?
Yeah, there's nothing that I'm aware of from the search of the records.
Okay. Any further questions from the committee? Councillor Franz.
I'm just wondering, are we able to see the body camera images on this?
We'll see that in a bit
Okay,
when
okay.
PC Connolly gives his... Anything further, no? PC Connolly, any questions to Nathan? Mr Middleton, any questions to Nathan? Mr and Mrs Halai, any questions? No. Okay. Therefore, can I ask PC Connolly to make his representations to the committee?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I've produced a report. I'm not going to read it verbatim, although it's only a brief report. I'd just like to touch on a bit of the history and summary for the premises. So it's of note that my application is on the prevention of crime and disorder and the protection of children from harm. It is worth mentioning that the premises is situated within a 0.6 mile radius of their 4 schools, primary and secondary establishments. The layout of the shop is quite good in the fact that from the service counter, you've got all the spirits behind the counter. To the left of the counter is the alcohol display, but it is possible to navigate around the shop behind service displays towards the alcohol section without staff being able to see properly. History-wise, I'm pleased to say that it's only ever been subjected to 1 test purchase back in 2013. The premises passed that test purchase and alcohol was not sold on that occasion. There's been no other police interventions since 2023. There's no intelligence on the system to say that they are selling alcohol or any other products underage. It basically came as part of Operation Sceptre on the 17th of May, which is a national campaign to tackle knife crime within our communities. Vinnie's, along with dozens of other premises that week, was subjected to knife test purchases in company with police and trading standards, effectively sending children into shops to test the resilience of these premises to hopefully result in challenged and no sales going ahead. Unfortunately, on that occasion, Vinnie's did sell a trimming knife to a child. Following that, and I'm not going to labour too much on this because I believe it might be Mr Middleton's representations, the premises was visited where educational advice was given to the staff member in question. I wasn't present, however, that staff member's attitude was described to me as dismissive about the sale, saying that if alcohol was sold, it wouldn't be a problem. They would have challenged it and the sale wouldn't have gone ahead. On learning about this failed test purchase on the 24th of May, I suggested to include it in some alcohol test purchasing that we'd already planned in on the 2nd of May. We've undertaken that, and at about 1:20 that day, the premises was visited. It failed by selling Strongbow dark fruit cider to a 16 and 17-year-old test purchaser. That's a 16-year-old female, 17-year-old male. The 17-year-old male was the purchaser of the alcohol on that occasion. I've then attended and issued a fixed penalty notice for £90 to the staff member. During that same time, we've done an inspection to check compliance of the premises licence, training, all the bits and pieces, all that kind of due diligence that a licensed premises should be operating. I was a little bit concerned with what we found on that one. We found a refusals logbook, which was in a 2009-2010 A4 hardback diary. There was no other records of refusals or any other such thing like that. And then when we were talking about staff training, we were presented with a Challenge 25 pack from Lancashire County Council. It's completely free training and resourcing which trading standards and myself as a licensed officer for the police hand out to premises. What was concerning about this training was it was in the envelope that it originally gets posted in. The envelope was covered in dust and dirt, which suggested it had been sat on a shelf for some time. When we'd opened that up and looked at the contents of that pack, all the posters, all the training material looked brand new, like it had been received, thrown on a shelf and never looked at. That was quite the concern, that they've had that free resource to hand to train staff and yet haven't taken up that. Effectively, Chair, that is the end of my representations. I was just very concerned that in such quick succession, alcohol and knives were sold to a child, and that's why we've taken it to a review today. Thank you very much, Chair, and if there's any questions.
Thank you. Just going back to the refusal log, you say it was dated 2009-2010. Was there any reason to believe that was the year that it was used, or is it? I'm unaware as the technicalities. Does it have to have the year of use on it?
It does not, Chair, but I believe the entries in there didn't include what year the refusal took place. So it was just the day and the month.
So there was no yearly date to identify that.
Chair, it may be worth, I have forgotten to show the body cam footage.
All right. Yeah.
It does capture some of that, so if I could play the body cam footage. Thank you.
Can we just pause that, go back? Is that the loudest it will go? Can we turn the volume up, please?
Why did you come there? What did you do then? You did tell us about you underdoing for alcohol. Fortunately, you're one of many places tested today. We've got a procedure we're going to go through now. Okay. How old were those people? How old do you think they were?
They look like they were 19, 20.
What challenge policy have you got here? So when they look a certain age, what age is it?
25.
We told you this, didn't we? a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's disappointing to us when we come and people fail because we just want them to listen to us, just do the basics right. And on this occasion, we haven't done it. There's a process we have to go through now. Colleagues will speak to you one by one. All right?
So, in terms of this, there's obviously the criminal offence selling alcohol to a child is a criminal offence. They'll be given a fixed penalty notice. Okay. Have you got any ID with you? Have you got a bank card or anything whatsoever? Thank you. Have you ever been in trouble with the police before? No. Have you ever received any fixed penalty notices or fines from the police? By all means, whilst I'm doing this, if anyone else wants to rather than the silence.
My name's Nathan, I'm from Chorley Council. Who's responsible for the actual premises, please?
Vinod Halai.
Okay. Does that person ever attend the premises?
Yes.
All right. When was the last time who is that person? Does he just own the place, or does he just lease it, or what's?
He owns it, yeah.
All right. Okay.
He's my husband.
Oh, it's your husband, is it? Right. Okay. That's fine. So there's a number of conditions on the licence. Certainly, one of the ones that's relevant for now is the Challenge 21 policy. So it says 21 on the licence. You obviously said 25. Mm-hmm. Is there any paperwork or any documentation you can show me about that policy? Anything? Have you ever been trained by Mr. Halai? Is it? Sorry.
What do you mean, sir? Is it like
Well, have you ever been told what ID you're allowed to accept?
Yeah.
Have you ever been shown how to inspect it?
Yeah.
Can you provide me with any sort of stuff like that? Is it just you and your husband who work here, or are there
Yes,
other people?
it is, just
yeah,
two
it's
of us.
just you two. So this looks like a pack that's been dropped off by train standards, probably with nothing filled in. So this is sort of what I'm after, but obviously it's never been used.
So what do you want to see?
What is it that you've pulled out there? Is that a refusals log or something?
These people's IDs, let me check.
Is there a reason that's never been filled in? Or not been used at all?
I don't know, it was there for it to be filled in. We keep stickers on it, and we've obviously looked through it.
I mean, that
Sounds
looks
like-
like it's just come off the print effectively. It doesn't look handled at all. It looks like it's just been thrown on a shelf. It doesn't look like anything from there has actually been adopted whatsoever.
Is there any way of me telling when this is being filled in, or is it just a...
As and when we keep a record, so...
So it's dates, basically, is the question I'm asking. Is there any way of me telling...
No, I don't think we've kept dates on that. We just keep a record, just if we need to refer back to it.
I mean, the way that's been filled in just makes me think that it's been filled in at one time. Everything looks exactly the same.
How long have you been here?
What is this?
This
14
is
years.
a checking ID log.
All these people are like in the 30s.
What's the good... Chair, if you'd like, after that point, there's nothing further really evidential. It's just me issuing the fixed penalty, so it goes very silent for a while.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other footage or?
There is not, Chair. The test purchase wasn't captured on camera. That's it's the camera, it vibrates.
Yeah, don't worry.
When was the last time this was used?
Yes,
been a
not
while.
that. So in there, I will ask both Nathan and yourself. There's a segment in there that refers to a Challenge 21 policy. Can you just clarify that? And can you just tell me what what did you witness in the shop to highlight a challenge policy?
The only challenge policy in the shop, Chair, was a blank challenge 25 policy that was provided by Lancashire County Council. It hadn't been filled in. There was no other policies that we witnessed.
So there's nothing on the doors, there's nothing behind the till.
I think there was a couple posters up, but that isn't a policy, that's just a poster. Effectively, it promotes it. Best practice would be to have it in writing, signed, dated, when it's been adopted by staff.
Right. Okay. Any, Councillor Clifford?
Thank you, Chair. Just two questions. You mentioned 2013, where there was a test purchase for alcohol. But obviously, the later one was Operation Sceptre. Was there no knife test done in 2013?
There was not, that we were aware of, Councillor. Knife test purchasing is quite new. It's only been really actively done for probably 5 years or so, I would say.
And a further question, and it relates to the video evidence. The evidence I've seen there is after. Now, you said there's no video of the purchases. Can you explain who was in the shop then to verify that purchase because of the lack of video evidence? Thanks.
So the shop was not visited. There was not a trading standards or a police official in the shop at that time. It was recorded on camera. Mr. Middleton was stood outside observing the test purchasers coming and going from the premises. The camera footage hasn't been provided today because it is the female test purchaser that didn't make the transaction that had the camera recording. She stood offset to the till, so you hear a bit of a conversation. I've not provided that because you don't hear much of what's being said because of the distance from the till. But effectively, it was sufficient that they exited with alcohol in the hands, having completed the sale.
Anything further? Councillor Franz?
Can I ask, PC Connolly, in your experience, over a period of time since 2009-2010, bearing in mind this is a town centre premises, how many refusals would you expect to see over that sort of period of time, and how many actually were recorded in that diary? Thanks.
I would expect a couple of entries in a shop's refusals log per week. That would be an average for myself. I can't tell you how many was actually recorded in that. It was just a list of refusals, but we can't say when they happened.
Anything further? Councillor Clifford?
Just on that point, because seems to be a vagary around this booklet. You said that there's a list of entrants. You must have an idea. Is it a long list of entrants or a short list? Thanks.
It was an A4 diary. I believe Mr. Howson did have a full inspection of it. He may be able to assist further, but it was not a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, there were a number of entries in the book. There were various different stages in the book, so it wasn't clear if stuff was sequential. There was a number of entries at the back of the book, and it was just impossible to find out, to determine when everything related to. So it's very difficult to say.
Just to follow that up, had the Check 25 booklet that was provided to him been completed, it would have recorded, it would have asked for the date, the time, description of the person that's tried to make a purchase, what they've tried to purchase, why they've been refused, who's refused them. When they are completed, we can find a better timeline as to when premises are refusing and how often they're actually taking that responsibility.
I would also imagine that it's not uncommon for people of legal age to forget ID and be refused as well.
It is indeed, Chair, and they would, in my opinion, be expected to be recorded in the refusals book.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for PC Connolly, Mr. Middleton? Mr. and Mrs. Halai, any questions? Therefore, can I ask Mr Middleton, on behalf of LCC's Trading Standards, to put forward your representations, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. As you're aware, I'm representing Lancashire County Council Trading Standards and I'm part of the alcohol and tobacco team. One of the Trading Standards' many roles and responsibilities relates to the sale of age-restricted products such as alcohol, tobacco, knives and e-cigarettes, often known as vapes. We do this in many forms, but we work with partners to ensure the best possible protection for individuals and our communities whilst educating residents and ensuring businesses are compliant and responsible. One way to check compliance of businesses is by the way of test purchasing, which is the use of young people to go into businesses and to carry out spot checks to check compliance. It's important to note that our test purchasers that we use are usually aged between 14 and 16, but they can be 17. The test purchasers are told not to dress up. They're told not to make themselves look older than they actually are. They're also briefed, if they're asked for their age, to tell the truth. They're also told if they've been asked about ID, they've got no ID. So if they're asked their age, tell the truth. If they're asked for ID, they reply, they've got no ID. The only times that we do, and this is quite relevant in this case, the only times we ask test purchasers perhaps to give misinformation is if they get asked for why they're purchasing that product. But obviously appreciate the test purchaser can't turn around and say, I'm buying it for as part of a test purchasing operation, Trading Standards and police are outside. So they basically get told to say they're getting it for mum or the dad or somebody. That's the only time that they're told to basically mislead, and that's obviously the truth in that case would not be relevant and certainly would be defeats the object of the test purchasing. So that's the important bit about test purchasing. As already mentioned by PC Connolly, on the 17th of May 2023, which was a part of Operation Sceptre, a week of action. As you already been mentioned, it's a initiative carried out periodically by the police and partner agencies to reduce knife crime, which unfortunately is prevalent and is an issue. You'll see knife amnesties where they take knives off the street, no questions asked. And obviously our concern is to make sure those knives which are taken off the street are not replaced by other knives, which is why we do test purchasing. So on the 17th of May, we carried out a test purchasing operation. A 13-year-old test purchaser went into the premises of Vinnie's and walked out with a trimming knife. I have got a photocopy of the trimming knife. It's if you want to look at it, it's basically like a Stanley knife, plastic handled. The blade extends as you use your thumb, it comes out and it snaps off at the end. So that's a trimming knife, and that's what a 13-year-old was able to go into Vinnie's and to come out holding that trimming knife. There was, for this operation, there was a Trading Standards officer inside the shop at the time. A witness the sale take place. The officer heard the member of the staff asked the test purchaser his age. He replied 13. So he told the truth. He was 13, he is 13. She then asked him what he was buying it for, and he replied to say that it was for his mum. She then proceeded to sell the knife to the child. So the test purchaser confirmed his age as 13, obviously misled information about his mum, but that could easily be said by any test purchaser, any under 18 going in there, and the sale took place, and the 13-year-old was allowed to walk out of the business with that knife. Immediately after the failed test purchase, the shop was revisited by Trading Standards and police, and the member of staff informed of the failure and given relevant and proportionate advice. She claimed to have been unaware that the item was age restricted and that she was more familiar with the laws around alcohol sales. She stated that if the test purchase had been for alcohol, she would not have made the sale. I was the Trading Standards officer who went into the premises, and I found the attitude of the staff member, the seller, to quite blasé and not really bothered about what had gone on. In relation to the test purchasing fail for the knife, this was dealt with by Trading Standards with an official written warning being given to the premises in the form of a letter in June. That letter would have contained information signposting the business to check 25 advice, which is free available advice available on the Lancashire County Council website. As you're already been aware and already mentioned, on the 2nd of June 2023, a further test purchasing authorisation was carried out, this time for alcohol. The same member of staff who sold the knife sold alcohol to the 16 and 17-year-old test purchasers, namely 4 cans of Dark Fruits Strongbow cider. You're aware, obviously, that PC Connolly's mentioned. Obviously, we went in after that test purchasing failure, spoke to the seller who confirmed the only member of staff was herself. When I challenged her regarding why the sale had been taken place, she stated it looked old enough, and she stated it looked about 19 and 20 years old, before confirming that the age policy of the premises was to challenge those who that looked under 25, as you've seen in the body cam footage. With this information, we obviously fully support this review application by the police. There's a view that the licence objectives are being undermined, and that's why we have made this representation.
Thank you very much. Now, I apologise for asking questions today that I may have asked you previously, and I know the answers to. However, other people within this committee may not be completely au fait with some of the answers. So
Fully understand, yeah.
I apologise for that. So, obviously this was part of a concerted effort to test sales. Is it something that you normally see that a convenience store like this would sell knives of a similar nature?
The knives, that obviously the trimming knives, you'd be surprised how many convenience stores do sell them. But as you're aware, they are knives. In the wrong hands, they could cause considerable damage to people. But they are common in convenience stores in relation to being sold, yes.
And as part of the Challenge 25 support package, are you aware of any training after the after the first test purchase, and certainly after the second test purchase? Are you aware of any training being undertaken by Mr. Halai and his staff, or is that something that's not come your way?
After the first test purchasing failure for the knives, they were handed a pack. I've got a pack here which does contain information which basically they can use for training. It's guide to obviously store, displaying and selling knives. As you can see, it mentions Check 25. The proportionate advice that would have been given after the first failure would be to basically increase their knowledge regarding what they shouldn't and shouldn't be selling, which are age restricted, and obviously to remind everybody who work there of the responsibilities regarding challenging people who appear to be under 25 for ID. So staff training information would be provided after the first test purchase, and they would have received a letter regarding this failure, which again would have signposted them to Check 25. But we would not check up on that. We just hope there's general compliance and they don't fail a test purchase operation.
And just for the committee's information, is there any kind of certified training available for a business of this nature to get some Challenge 25 training?
There's obviously plenty of training out there. Some they have to pay for, some which is free. Lancashire County Council training standards, there's a free resources on there in relation to numerous things which help businesses, including Check 25. It's got, on that, it's got things you can print out, it's got refusal logs you can print out, it's got staff training records you can complete, it's got questions and answers that you can use for staff training. It's free. All you need to do is log on, put some details in, and it's all free. You can print it out. And then we've got hard copies, which they've got hard copies which have been delivered at a previous time to the premises.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Councillor Clifford.
Thank you, Chair. Would it be possible, you've got a photograph of the knife. To me, a knife's a knife and can be deadly in the wrong hands. There are two types of knives that can be like this. If I can just have one, yeah. See, one's a Stanley knife, that where the blade only comes out a small bit. These come out an awful long way. Obviously, they're designed to break off when they go blunt. However, you can put that blade out an awful long way at the start. Right, that's a, yeah, thank you for that.
I'm very familiar with them, Margaret. I have a number of scars on my body from where I've carpet fitted. Any further questions? No? PC Connolly, any questions? Mr. and Mrs. Halai, any questions? We don't have any other persons. Therefore, can I ask Mr. and Mrs. Halai to make your representations to the committee, please?
After the incident happened on my business premises, I have spoken to my wife and she explained to me what exactly happened on that day. In relation to the sale of the trimming knife, she didn't doubt his age, but she wasn't aware it was classed as an age-restricted item. And that it's an offense to sell to somebody underage. I generally don't sell knives in the shop, and this was on the bits and bobs stand that gets topped up by the company. I have sat down with her and explained to her that even though it doesn't have an age-restricted warning on there, any form of knife, big or small, it comes under the same category. Since you've been, I have put up the illegal to sell knives under 18 posters and have also removed the trimming knife and the blades from the stand. In relation to the underage sale of alcohol, she genuinely thought he was old enough. She wasn't suspicious of him in any way, but she understands she shouldn't have assumed and should have asked him for an ID. She's well aware that we follow a Challenge 25 policy and we should be asking for IDs. We do follow a strict no ID, no sale policy, which means if we ask for an ID, if they don't provide it, simple, we don't serve them. Since you've been, I have gone through the age restriction checklist and the worksheets together with her. Although I have posters up around the shop notifying customers it's illegal to sell under 18 and prepare to show under 25, I've now placed a Challenge 25 posters for all the staff near the till. So it's right there in front of us, constant reminding us that challenge the age 25. In the past, when I had the staff, I regularly kept on top of the training records and refuse logs. However, over the last few years, I have taken most of the responsibilities on working in the shop, with my wife helping me out. If she had any issues or concerns, she will discuss them with me. I also have a CCTV that I use to monitor it. I do understand the need to have regular reminders about the rules and training, and going forward, I will ensure this is carried out. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it might be useful for committee members before we ask questions is if we do it in two parts over dealing with the incident, the first incident with the knife, followed by the second, unless there is a point, obviously, which combines both incidents. So, just clarify, Mr. Halai, so prior to both of these incidents, could you just tell the committee what kind of training that you gave for your staff? Just for clarity, is it just yourself and your wife that work there, or do you have more than?
No, at the moment it's just two of us.
Just to, so could you just explain the training prior to the incidents that you've given, that you've read up on yourself perhaps, or given your wife?
Initially, I go through the training with them when they first start the job. The training materials are kept together and are there for them to refer to us when they needed it. I regularly remind them of any suspicious activities and what they should be on the lookout for, what kind of IDs to accept and how to question them. I make them aware of any concerns and constantly remind them if they're not sure, ask for the ID, and if they don't have it, don't serve them. Thank you.
Okay, so you, as part of your training, you make sure that the staff are fully aware that if there's no ID, there is no sale. Could you just explain, do you also advise them about how to fill in the refusal logbook?
Yes, in past when I had the staff, I used to regularly remind them, to fill the logs, and which they did in this diary we've got. And I used to check it. But then it's been past few years that it's just me and my wife, we've been working, we got no staff for the last good few years.
So just because, I just picked up on something that you said there about you've previously told your staff. So obviously it's you and your wife. So have you made sure that Mrs. Halai is fully aware of the refusal, if no ID, and how to fill in the refusal logbook?
Yes, she is, sir.
Right, okay. In that case, obviously, you've had a 13-year-old come into the shop and he's gone to purchase a knife. You've challenged him on his age. He stated that he is 13 and underage. So if that training has been given, which you say it has, could you just explain why you sold the knife and whether you entered any records into the refusal logbook?
Okay, so when he came to the counter, the first thing was I wasn't sure that it was an age-restricted item. So it wasn't that he was 13. It was more the fact that I wasn't sure that I had doubts if I should sell it to him or not. And I asked him who it was for. He said his mom. He didn't come across, hesitant in any way. He was quite confident. And I guess I just made the mistake of selling it to him.
Okay, so you're unsure that it's an age-restricted item, but Mr. Halai says that he's informed you about your responsibilities. So is it a case of you didn't understand the training that you were given? You ignored the training that you were given? Because what troubles me is that you say that you didn't really know that that was an age-restricted item. So if you didn't really know that it was an age-restricted item, why would you ask for ID? Could you just clarify that?
Sorry, I didn't ask him for ID. I just want to correct that. I didn't ask him for ID.
Sorry, you asked him his age.
Yeah, I asked him his age. I wasn't sure how old he was. I asked him his age, but it was more the fact that I didn't know it came as classed as a knife, hence it's an offence to sell to someone underage.
Okay, so if you, just going back to the training, so was it a case of you didn't understand the training that you were given, or was it a case of you knew what the training was and you ignored that information?
I knew what the training was. I know we don't sell knives. I thought it would be classed as a kitchen knife. It's illegal to sell. What I was mistaken on is the fact that it's a trimming knife, and I wasn't sure if it came under the same category as a kitchen knife. And in my head, I think I was thinking of, we're not allowed to sell knives. We don't sell knives in the shop generally. So this is something that we've not gone out to buy to sell in the shop. This is something that a company would come and just top up regular on the stand, the same way we would have scissors on there, needles, sewing needles, all kinds of sharp stuff on there. But I think when I came to serve him, I was hesitant, and I didn't know that it was an age-restricted item.
Okay, so trading standards have come in. They've informed you of the legal position. At that point, Mr. Halai, yeah. At that point, you've failed a test purchase. Your wife has clearly sold a knife. I am sure you've had some discussion on the circumstances to that. Can you tell me, at that point, what training did you then give?
After that, basically, I explained to her that the Challenge 25 is must that, before you serve to anybody, you need to ask for the ID. If they can't provide it, you can't serve anybody. So then after, I placed all the posters of, which we were provided by the trading standard, and I put the posters up next to the till as well. So that constantly is going to remind her as soon as she goes to the till that is Challenge 25. Thank you.
And for clarity, that information about Challenge 25, was that just purely around knives?
This was the alcohol.
So the training that you gave, it wasn't just knives, it was knives, alcohol. Right, okay, thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Councillor Clifford.
Just one, thank you, Chair. I mean, it seems straightforward from what you've said. You don't deny that you sold the knife to this 13-year-old at all, that it all happened. Right, no, thank you.
Anything further on the knife sale? No? Right, well, so, Mr. Halai, you've given training to your wife. You've subsequently failed a test purchase. You've then, as you've just stated, you've then given Challenge 25 information to your wife, not just for knife sales, but also for alcohol. And then there's been another test purchase where you failed again. So could you just explain to the committee why that second batch of training has not ensured that your policies and the expectations placed upon you as a licence holder, could you just explain why that has failed again?
So basically, I thought I have explained to her exactly, how I trained her, what we can sell, what we can't sell. So to me, she understood exactly the training I gave it to her.
Okay, so after the second failed test purchase, you as a licence holder, I appreciate it's your wife, but it's also a member of staff. So can you just explain what actions you took after the second failed test purchase?
So the actions after that now is a regular discussion we do every single day, explaining to her, like now in future, things like that, it shouldn't happen, You have to be very careful when it comes to like, the age-restricted items, alcohol, or any kind of, age-restricted items. If you're not sure about it, just don't sell it.
Okay, Mrs. Halai. Obviously, we've heard about all this information that's been given to you. Can you just state to the committee what your understanding of the procedures are if somebody comes in and looks younger than 25? Could you just state what you will do?
So obviously, if they come in and I think they're younger than what they should be, I'd just challenge them, ask them for an ID. If they don't provide an ID, I won't serve them. If they give me an ID, I'll check the ID, make sure they're 18 and over.
And if they are refused, what then?
I'll make a record in the logbook that we have. I'll date it, put a description on there, sign it and date it, and make a note of what item I refused them on and why I refused it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. I think we've covered pretty much everything there. PC Connolly.
Mrs. Halai, how long have you worked for the premises?
14 years.
14 years. How many times have you been trained by your husband on Check 25 in that time?
When we initially started together, we did a bit of intense training, and thereafter we've had staffing. So while he's training staff, we're also getting trained at the same time. Since then, we've always have discussions and conversations. So there'll be times when he'll say, watch out, there's been a few kids around, watch out, this has been happening, be careful, take, note of this. So that is more of a discussion thing. More recently, again, when we've had the national lottery, that changed from 16 to 18. So again, we went through some of the training where it's like, these are the IDs we need to check for, etc. So again, so it's a constant throughout discussion.
Quite regular training then, you would say? Yeah. Okay. Mr. High, the most recent training, so after the failed test purchase of the knife and alcohol, you've said that you've given extra training to your wife. Have you documented that anywhere? Is that wrote down?
Yes, I have, sir.
Have you brought that with you today so that the committee could see that training?
Yes, I have.
Is it possible that you could present that to the committee?
Sure. Yes.
Chair, I think that's quite relevant that you might want to see that.
Yeah, please. Well, Matthew, can you just...
And then just the last one for myself, Mr. Halai. Obviously, you've undertaken 2 lots of training since both failed test purchase. Have you considered having your wife undertake any enhanced training, such as the level 2 alcohol training for the personal license that you've undertaken yourself?
Yes, I have. Yeah, if I have to send her for the refresh, for the training and all that, I'm willing to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions, Chair.
Just for clarity and based on my experience of men's handwriting, Mrs. Halai, did you fill this in? The training record. Yeah. Right. I do find that ladies have very good handwriting. Sadly, I don't. Right. I can confirm there is a training record dated 5th of the 6th, 23. Is that something that you want to have a look at, or?
Chair, if you've had a look at that and you're happy with it, I'm quite satisfied. Thank you.
Anybody want to know? Right. I will leave that here. Oh, do you want to come and collect it? Cheers. I have to say I'm in for an audit tomorrow, so all my training records have been absolutely meticulous today. So I appreciate a good training record. Right. moving back to the agenda. Mr Middleton, any questions? Should I use my discretion at this time, Nathan? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's just a couple of questions for clarification, I suppose. So we've heard that, Ms. Salai, you weren't sure whether or not the knife was age restricted. What's your policy on other goods? Would you always ask for the age of somebody? If a child, for example, was coming in to buy sweets, would you ask for their age at that stage?
For sweets?
Okay. So on this occasion, you weren't sure whether it was age restricted, but you did ask this person for ID. Why would you ask for that person's age if you weren't sure?
I didn't ask him for an age. I asked him for an age because I was trying to judge how old he was. Let's say if he was 8 or 9, I probably wouldn't have thinking just as a sense of responsibility. But when I asked him, he said 13, and I asked him who it was for. He said his mum, and I just kind of made that judgment.
So would you accept then that you had some sort of awareness that, you know, there was a reason for you to be concerned about the age of the person?
Yeah, I was hesitant. Yeah, I do accept I was hesitant, yeah.
Okay. And then you'd said you weren't sure about whether or not you should sell that item to the requester or the buyer, the child. Why would you not then take the safe option and refuse the sale rather than deciding, you know, to take the less safe option, I suppose?
Yeah, and that's what I should have done. But at that time, I just made that judgment, and it was a mistake. So.
Okay, fair enough. Those are all my questions. Thanks, Jack.
I've just discovered one question that I forgot to ask. Just in reference to the Challenge 25 pack that was discovered, could you just explain to the committee why that appeared to have been ignored or mothballed, whatever you want to call it? But obviously there was a lot of information in there that could have helped you. Could you just explain to us why that wasn't taken up, why that wasn't used?
So the pack has been used. What's happened is we keep everything in one place. So we use it in terms of looking through, but what hasn't happened was the signing and dating on the pack. So we've not signed to say we've read it or checked it, but we has been looked through. There's a refusal register that was part of this that we've attached to our diary. So that was put onto here to use. And the last date entry on that was 2016.
But am I right in thinking none of the posters had been put up or anything? This is prior to the test.
Yeah. The illegal to sell under 18 poster we've put behind the counter.
But just for clarity, not the Challenge 25 poster.
Not the not the Challenge.
So
25.
they haven't been used.
It was 21 before.
Oh, okay.
So we had 21.
So no Challenge 25.
There is there's a prepare to show under 25 poster which we have up in the shop.
Now?
Yeah. No, previously.
Previously.
Yeah, that was on the fridge where the alcohol was.
It's getting cloudy this, so can somebody, anybody from this side, just clarify that the Challenge 25 posters were in the folder? Do you know exactly if any of them have been removed or?
My understanding is that there was a poster or two up, but from my experience, you can have as many posters up as you want on display. If you don't actually practice what you preach, it means nothing.
Okay, that'll do. Right, in that case, can I ask PC Connolly to sum up, please?
Chair, I'll keep it brief for you tonight. Effectively, we've got a premises here that has been troubled. It has sold age-restricted products in quick succession to children. There are significant concerns. They've had free training resource. That training is sometimes for companies, hundreds of pounds. People will charge for that. They've had it completely free and it's not been adopted at the premises. That is a massive red flag for any licensed premises. Mrs. Harai was described as bit dismissive by my colleagues who attended on the knife test purchase. That again is another red flag for the premises for me. Ultimately, there's been no dishonesty, which I'm pleased to say. We've not had any kind of pulling the wool over the eyes or anything like that, but there are issues. Chair, I would respectfully request, given the evidence today, that the licence is suspended for 3 months and a new operating schedule. That I've put that new requested or proposed conditions as LC4. However, I would like to add just another last minute one in the circumstances we've had today. It's only Mr. Halai and Mrs. Halai that were at the premises, so staff training has clearly proven ineffective. What I would ask is that all members of staff have the BIIIB Level 2 award qualification, which is effectively the qualification required to become a personal licence holder. It gives someone enhanced training.
Are you getting all this, Matthew?
And that's the end of it, Chair. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Lancashire County Council training standards do not like or want businesses to fail test purchasing. But we also do not like under 18s leaving businesses in Lancashire with knives and alcohol. From my experience, a good, robust Check 25 policy and process in place stops this from happening. Unfortunately, in these circumstances, this wasn't in place at Vinnie's. We're at this situation where, obviously, we're before you today. Thank you.
Would you like to use discretion?
No, Chair, nothing from me, thank you.
Okay. Therefore, Mr. and Mrs. Halai, would you like to make your final comments?
Thank you. I just wanted to say we have not taken this lightly, sir. Since you've been, we have put things in place. I've removed the trimming knife and the blade from the stand. I put a Challenge 25 posters up near the till as a visual reminder to challenge people. I've gone through the age-restricted checklist and the worksheets, and I have started to date and sign the training logs. I understand your concern for the public safety, but I want to assure you that we are not a threat or a nuisance to the public. We are a family-run business, and I have been here for 14 years. I understand it's my responsibility, and going forward, I will ensure regular training, checks are carried out, and logbooks are signed and dated. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the hearing is finished. Please can I ask for our officers, the applicant for review, the licence holder, legal representative, responsible authorities to leave the meeting. The stream for YouTube will end. Can you welcome back. Can we just confirm that we're back up and running on the video? Excellent. After careful consideration, members have resolved to suspend the premises licence for a period of 6 weeks and impose the conditions proposed by the constabulary. Condition 7, proposed by the police, shall be amended to remove the exemption allowing the sale of folding pocket knives. Condition 4, proposed by the police regarding Challenge 25 training, shall be amended to refer to external training suppliers which may be, but need not be, Lancashire County Council. These conditions proposed by the police, numbered 1, CCTV, Condition 3, EPOS, Condition 4, external training, must be implemented within 3 months from the date of the hearing. But Condition 2, the Challenge 25 scheme, Condition 5, the incident and refusal logs, Condition 6, written authorisation, and Condition 7, prohibition on sale of knives, shall take effect immediately, and the conditions at Annex 2 shall be removed. The reasons are as follows. The unlawful sale of the alcohol and a trimming knife to minors undermine the licensing objectives of the protection of children from harm and prevention of crime and disorder. A trimming knife is capable of being a serious offensive weapon if in the wrong hands. Members did not consider that a mere warning to the premises licence holder would be sufficient. The failed test purchase pointed to poor supervision and training of staff. The trimming knife was sold to a young person stating that they were 13 years old. The staff members who sold the knife claimed to be unaware that the item was age restricted. The entries in the refusals register produced on 17th of May 2023 appeared to date from 2009 to 2010 and lacked dates which suggested to members that there was no refusal register in use on a regular basis. Members noted that the Check 25 policy held by the premises was covered in dust and appeared unused. The wife of the premises licence holder admitted that some of the materials were unused. It was noted that staff at the premises had not undergone any recent external training, despite this being made available by Lancashire County Council at no charge. Clearly, any training provided by the premises licence holder had not been effective. The conditions attached to the current premises licence at Annex 2 are not appropriately worded and are not enforceable. Except for the conditions relating to CCTV, but these are catered for in the CCTV conditions proposed by the police. The premises licence holder has the right of appeal against the decision to the magistrate courts within 21 days' notice of the decision. That is the decision of the committee. Can I thank everybody for their attendance? I now bring the meeting to a close. Thank you.